No, your eyes are not deceiving you. I am finally back with the wrap up. It has been forever and a day since I last did a wrap up. To be precise, I think the last time I did a wrap up was in November when I was, spewing my love for the perfection that is taking him, Danny Brown. I am so excited about Actor Eve Brown. My copy is on its way to me. It's going to probably take like a couple of weeks because, shipping to Nigeria can be kind of like tricky. But it should be on my on its way to me soon, and I'm so excited for that. But anyway, last time I did a wrap up was in November. December, January, February, there has been none because your girl entered a reading slump. Actually, it was not really a slump, more like a funk. But I think I'm slowly getting out of it again, and I'm so excited because I'm like, yay, I can do wrap ups again. We'll start the way I always do it, which is from the least rated, like the lowest rated, to the highest rated book. And let me tell you, I have a lot of amazing 5-star books on this wrap up. I'm so excited, but I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet and precise and straight to the point.
It was all a lie. Guys, it was all a lie. She lied.
Starting with the 3-star read on this list, which is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. See, when I picked up this book, when I was like salivating at the thought of it and really anticipating reading it, there was a voice at the back of my head, and that voice was like, Noria, your expectations for the end of this series is very high. And if there's anything life has taught us and our anxieties have taught us, it's that never have high expectations because you're just setting yourself up for failure and disappointment. And I was like, no, of course, it's The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. I am not going to be disappointed. Sad to say,
hello darkness, my old friend.
I was disappointed because this is a good book, right? It's a 3-star book. It's an average read for me. It's just that it was not what I expected for the end of the series. I think that Rebecca, I'm not going to go into what the book is about because it will be spoilers for book 1 and 2 if you've not read it. But I would just say that my problem with this is that right off the bat, the great things about this book, the world building was amazing, spectacular. I loved it. And I also love the tension in this book. Rebecca kept this book a very plot-driven story all the way through, and I think that is kind of part of the reason why it did not sit well for me, because for me the Poppy Wars series has been half and half. It has been half character driven, whereby we see the progression and growth and development of Rain as a character, the same thing with Nexa, the same thing with Venka, the same thing with Kite, even the trifecta, right? Even Sudaji and even Jiang, like everybody, it's been part character driven and part plot. In fact, the character's story was what drove the plot. And then we got to The Burning God, where this character stopped developing as people and it was just very plot heavy, and I think that did this book a disservice for me. I have seen reviews. I know some people absolutely love this end of this trilogy. I did not. Like I said, it was... She sacrificed, as far as I'm concerned, she sacrificed character for plot, and that was not the type of story that she had been telling all the way through, all this while. I also feel that because of that, because she was trying to cram so many things, right? The ending was so rushed. The last 10 pages was where this thing was resolved, and it had me feeling, I was like, all the bravado and all the mouth for you to come in a minute, leave me unsatisfied, high and dry. It wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I signed up for. It left a very disappointed taste in my mouth. I would still say that my favorite book in this entire trilogy, my favorite book in the trilogy is The Dragon Republic. I think that the second book was told a very tight story and was brilliant. And then my second favorite book would be, of course, The Poppy War, because that sets my love for this series. And The Burning God just... It's a book that I finished and I just felt dissatisfied. And even though a lot of series, when I finish them, I immediately start thinking, oh, when can I reread the series again? And this time around, savor them like, old wine. Let it collect in your mouth. Let it satiate your buds. Let it fill your imagination. I didn't have that same experience with this. When I finished it, I was just like, thank God this book is over. And that is not a phrase I ever want to say about the end to a beloved series. The next book on my list is a reread, and that is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. In this, we follow Lara Jean Covey. actually, let me rephrase that. In this, we follow Lara Jean's song Kavi, a 16-year-old girl who has so far lived a life in imagination. She's a quiet homebody, right? She loves baking. Like, oh my god, Lara Jean can bake. I want to enter this book so that she can feed me like cookies and cakes and cupcakes because god damn, that girl can bake. But anyway, she's a homebody. She just likes being on her own, reading books, hanging with her friends, hanging with her sister, and every single time she likes a boy and she wants to get over him, she will write him a letter, like complete, like she would pour out her heart, like talk about how much she loves him, and like kind of like a final farewell to those emotions. She would not send it, and she keeps everything in this hot box that her mother gave her. With her elder sister off to school in Scotland, Lara Jean, who was the middle child, is now the oldest girl in the house, and she's just trying to manage everything, and her life is hunky dory until she gets to school one day and realizes that her letters have been sent. And how does she realize it? Because the boys that she sent the letters to come to her, and my girl loses her shit. She is in full panic mode. She's like, hold up. Now this is not what I signed up for, and it's a mess, right? So she has to fake date one of the boys that she sent the letters to, Peter Kavinsky, because one of the boys she sent out 5 letters. One of the boys she had sent out the letter to was her big sister's ex-boyfriend. And Lara Jean, had a crush on him, but she pushed all those feelings away because Margot liked the boy and the boy liked her back. And I understood that because when I was 17, I had a crush on a boy that my best friend also liked. And there's just that unwritten rule: when someone you love likes somebody and that person likes them back, you just immediately like step away. And I appreciated that for her. So she was like, oh my god, Josh cannot find out. And so she has this whole fake dating thing with Peter Kavinsky, who agrees, who actually proposes the idea because his own girlfriend, Jen, who used to be Lara Jean's ex-best friend, broke up with him, and it's like, nah, he wants to, pretend like it's over her and just like have this whole thing sorted out. So they both have vested interest in this, and they are fake dating. And you all know fake dating is one of my favorite tropes to boot, because it's always I will pretend we're dating, and then feelings start creeping in the way, and you start panicking because oh my god, you're falling in love with your pretend boyfriend, girlfriend, other, significant other, and you don't know what to do because you're like, holy shit, I did not plan for this. And I absolutely adored it. I would say one thing I really loved about this book is that the way the tone of voice that Jenny Han uses, she perfectly captured the tone of a 16-year-old. I legit felt like, I didn't think it was an adult writing this. I thought I was legit reading Lara Jean's diary and she was telling me her story, and I loved every moment of this. This book made me warm. It gave me all the butterflies. I was absolutely in love. It made me remember being 16 again, with all the insecurities and the fears, and trying to find my voice and trying to find my feet and trying to be myself, even as I liked a boy. I think that Jenny Ann was able to capture this perfectly well. I absolutely love this. I gave this book a 4 stars. Worth it.
This was delicious.
Next, I read the second book in the series. Now, the reason why I did a reread, because it was only 12 Words I've Loved Before that I read. I've not read the other books in the series, and when the movies came out, I was like, oh my god, okay, let me read the other book in the series. But I never read P.S. I Still Love You. I never read it because I never actually watched the movie. It was when the third movie came out, I'm like, okay, let me reread the other book so that I can actually watch the third movie. So I read P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Ann. This is the second book in the To All the Boys I've Loved series, and as is expected, because it's fake dating, of course you know that those two are going to get together, right? So Peter and Lara Jean are together, but complications arise because, see, remember when I told you that Lara Jean sent 5 letters? Well, one of those letters went to a boy that got it very late, and when the boy replied, Lara Jean was torn because John Ambrose McLaren is perfection, spectacular, amazing, a boy that would grow up into a beautiful, beautiful man. You know, when you read about a 16-year-old boy and like, whoa, imagine John Ambrose McLaren in a romance novel like 20 years, like 10, 15 years later, is a grown man. That would be spectacular because John Ambrose McLaren is spectacular. And it became a case of, okay, who would she like? Because if you've ever had a situation where there were 2 boys that you liked at the same time, It is complicated, and poor Lara Jean, who so far our life has been pretty peaceful, started panicking, right? Lara Jean's emotions were so real, so honest, so like a teenager. Just you know when you cringe on her behalf and you feel every ache and every pain and the anticipation and the worry and the fear, like, oh my god, what if I pick the wrong person but I like this person? And that confusion, the way she was torn between both of them, was written and depicted so well. Although it was at this book that I started realizing something that was persistent through all these books. I will get to it when we get to book 3. But once again, I enjoyed this. I gave this a 4 stars as well. I would state, however, that I am solidly team John Ambrose McLaren. Peter Kavinsky in this book was an ass. He was a total and complete ass. I get it. It was a 17-year-old boy. He didn't know how to handle it better. It's expected. But it does not take away from the fact that he was an ass. Especially with the way the last 10-20 pages of this book, that whole thing with her birthday, pick ass behavior. And finally, the last book in the trilogy, Always and Forever, Lara Jean. This, if the first 2 were about relationships, this 3rd book is about Lara Jean herself. It's about her discovering herself, because in this she's going to college, and it's a case of, where would she go? Would she choose a college because that's where her boyfriend is? Would she choose, like, you know, the next 4 years of her life and the kind of woman she'll become? Because I believe, for me, university was a core part of my identity. The Noria that you're seeing seated in front of you, talking to the camera, holding up a book, would not be the same Noria if I had not gone to the university I went to. That was where I found myself. That was where I found my self-esteem, my self-confidence, my best friend, who has been my best friend, is still my best friend. Yes, we have been best friends now for almost 15 years. Like, I found her in university, and reading this book and seeing Lara Jean be so torn with regards, you know, the choice. This is the school she's always wanted to go to. This is where her heart has been. And what happens when you hit that disappointment and you realize that the dream school that you've always wanted, you're not getting there, and so you have to go out. And this is Lara Jean's story. Like, the other 2 were more of, all 3 books are Lara Jean's story, but 2 of them focused on Lara Jean and her relationship. This focused on Lara Jean herself, and I loved every moment of it. I was just like, I was rooting for my girl. I was rooting for my girl to make the right choice for her, not for her boy, but for her. And I would say Peter Kavinsky continued with his stupid boy, 17, now 18-year-old boy behavior in this. He did kind of redeem himself a little, but it was just, why am I saying a little? He was still an ass in this book. Like, a lot of the time, he was an ass. And I was just like, you selfish, egotistical piece of shit. Lara Jean deserves better. And I, like, oh my god, like, But I would say that this was where, because I gave this a 4 star, actually. I gave this a 4 star. It was almost a 3.5 because of what I'm about to say, which is that this was the book when I realized that in every single one of this book, Jenny Ann always has a breakup happen. Like, I get it, the reason why the breakup happened in the first book, the second book, and now this book, like, I'm just like, the breakup became a tiny bit tedious, because you always know how it's going to resolve itself. But it's a romance book, of course they're going to get together. But I felt that it was a bit repetitive with regards to breakup. Like, that was just me personally. And I think that the fact that nobody called out Peter's mom, and just how manipulative that whole situation was. You do not have that conversation with a child as a fucking grown-up adult. You're the mother. Figure out how to talk to your own fucking son.
Get up, you little ugly bitch.
Next, I read How to Catch a Queen by Alyssa Cole, which is the first book in the Runaway Royal series. In this, we follow Shanti, who we got a hint of in the first book in the Reluctant Royal series, which is A Princess on Paper. So because she used to be the betrothed of, you know, a certain prince called Thabiso, and that didn't work out because Thabiso was meant to get together with Naledi. It was written in the stars. But Shanti's dream had always been to be a queen, and when she's like given this opportunity to marry the king of Njaza, the newly crowned king of Injaza, she takes the opportunity because, I repeat, my girl knows what she wants, and what she wants is to become a queen, not just because of the crown, but also because she knows that like being a queen is a calling, and she wants to like make change, and she believes that she needs power to make that change. But she gets to Injaza, she meets Sanyu, there's the instant connection. The only problem is that Sanyu is a king who doesn't necessarily have full control, because there is another man in behind the scenes who is weaving that political power. And so Sanyu is basically a figurehead in Injaza. So what happens when a girl who wants to be queen marries a king who is a king in name only, and basically pushes him to make reforms and actually take on that role? There's conflict, there is drama, there is passion, there is love, because once again, it was an arranged marriage in a way turned loving marriage, and I absolutely love it. I loved how we saw the progression of Shanti and Sanyu's relationship. I love how it is that, you know, respect came and then love, because I felt that their story worked. Like there was attraction, yes, but they like there was respect and then there was love, especially because I believe that Shanti deserved all the respect. My girl, she knew what she wanted. She knew what she was doing. She was fucking smart, and I love it when in a romance novel, right? Um, you have the lead character understand, see, and acknowledge and bow down to the wisdom and smarts of his wife, especially when she is that bitch. I absolutely adored it. This was black romance that just filled me with joy. So much joy. It was sexy, it was hot, it was amazing. I loved the depiction of Sanyu and his anxieties, because he does have like almost crippling anxiety, and when he like having Alisa depict his panic attacks, having her depict how he copes with his anxieties, especially when he has that much of responsibility on his shoulders. It was done so spectacularly well. I loved it. I love the sets. I also love, there's something that Alisa explored in this that I think not a lot of books explore, especially romance books, right? Because see, Injaza used to be was a colonized country, and there was this instance where Sanyu had to liaise with the prince of the country that colonized them. And when it is that the like I said, the figure that was working in the background, when it was having that conversation, I loved that tension, because here I am living in a country that was colonized by Britain, and there's a certain level of interactions we have with Britain that has that underlying thread of um, you came and colonized us and took our resources, and yes, we got our independence, but relating with you, we cannot erase the past of what you did, even though you want to extend a hand. And also, how can we trust the hands of the person that once again colonized and brutalized our people for decades, for centuries, who made themselves lord and master, and now you want to be lord and master turned friend? It's not that easy. It's not something that just happens. It's something that even almost 100 years after, there would still be that underlying thread of, I don't trust you, why should we have that relationship with you? And I loved how Alyssa captured that in this book. Like reading about it, reading all the protests and reading everything that happened in that book, I was just like, this is Nigeria's relationship with Britain. This is the relationship of every colonized country with their colonizer, especially when their colonizer is still in a bit of a position of power, and it's like, I am helping, and we're like, we would not be in this position if not for you in the first place.
Fucking what?
Needless to say, I absolutely adored How to Catch a Queen. Loved it. Gave it 4 stars. The next book I read is How the King of Elfhame Learned Stories by Oli Black. You all know, everybody knows, I have not hinted on my channel that the Folk of the Hair series by Oli Black, namely, which has the 3 books of The Crow Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing in it, is one of my favorite series. I have this series in multiple copies, as you can see behind me. So when it is that Oli Black mentioned that she was going to release a novella from Carden's perspective, Carden being the Prince of Elfhame, that Our lead protagonist in the Folk of the Air series, Joe Duarte, had a hate to love relationship with. I was very happy. And in this, we basically follow his story. I love how it is that in this book, Ollie Black took us on a trajectory of his story. We started at one point and we came full circle at the end, right? Because Carden's story started with the abuse and neglect he suffered at the hands of his family, and a certain hag, to be precise, a troll, that found him, or he ran into when he was a child, and they had this relationship. And basically, this whole story is meant to come full circle. I'm not going to go into details because I do not want to spoil it, but this was Carden's story. It's a novella, a set of different stories situated at different parts of Carden's life as we see him become the man, the king he is at the end of the series. And I absolutely adored it. This had words and this also had art, because it was just like a picture book. It was like a picture, a storybook telling us Carden's story, and it just combined two things, like the two things I love, because I do absolutely love. I would never not love art. And I think that picture books are a form of art, right? A perfect intersection of art and words, and where they meet and converge, and how one can help elevate the storytelling of the other. And this just perfectly captured that for me. It was magical, it was beautiful, it was whimsical, the art was gorgeous. Um, and I loved every moment of it. And the Barnes and Noble edition had like exclusive, like special tidbits, and we saw like how the artist, how Ollie Black like liaised with the artist, how she chose the artist, what were the first set of drawings the artist had of Carden, and I loved it. I absolutely adore it. Like, this is such a beautiful book. This is such a beautiful book. Okay, so give me a second, let me look at it. Like, see the different faces of Carden and Jude. Like, it's just little things that just made this precious for me. It's a novella, so when I was talking about my favorite books, I didn't pick it because there were other, like, I read so many great books last year. But it's a novella, and I gave it 4.5 stars. It's just a perfect bit of amazingness, and it's a perfect addition to the Folk of the Air series. It doesn't feel like a money grab to me, because as much as I love Sarah J Maas, The Court of Frost and Starlight was a money grab. Like, she might not have intended it that way, but her publishers definitely did. That was a money grab. This was not. This actually gave me substance. It actually made me happy that I pre-ordered this book. It actually made me happy when it arrived. It actually made me happy when I read it, and when I finished it, I was floating on clouds. I was
Gorgeous! Gorgeous!
Now we are moving into our 5-star reads of this video, starting with Lakiriboto Chronicles by Ayodele Olofintuade. I love stories about women that you cannot pigeonhole. I love stories about women that survive and thrive in the patriarchy, especially when it is that they are giving like double fingers to the patriarchy and flipping the patriarchy off. You all know that was the reason why one of the very first prompts for the fuckathon is fuck the patriarchy. And this book really fits Fuck the Patriarchy. In this, we follow Morieba, Moremi, Tola, and Kudirat, 4 women who live within the Alagbado clan, which is like, you all know what a clan is. Like, so individual groups of family, but everybody has one rule, one head, right? And so the family has different branches, aka the clan. So these 4 women have different relationships with the clan, and when it is that Alaja, right, I won't call her the matriarch, she's the senior female member of the clan, but because the clan is so patriarchal, she does not have the power that her brother has, even though she has more money, more wealth than her brother, right? And that is where the problems start, because when she dies, in her will, she leaves her property to her granddaughter, Moremi, this child that was birthed like outside the country and was brought to Nigeria, and she has raised that girl, she has loved that girl. But that brother, who is very greedy and wants money, tries to make the will disappear, and that is what he does. Is he sets things in motion that just bring about his downfall, because yes, there was a triumphant moment in this, right? This book had everything I loved in a book, right? So it had women saying fuck you to the patriarchy, it had women misbehaving very badly. In fact, you can see the tagline says a brief history of badly behaved women. It's just spectacular. It also had a bit of a heist component to it, because when it is that Morieba is being blackmailed with regards to sexuality, there's a heist con that is brought into it, and I was just like, this is just spectacular. And the one thing I really love that is present in this book, that is present in this book is the presence of Eshu Laulu. Now, Eshu is what you would call the Yoruba equivalent of, like, say, Loki or Hermes, right? So they, because I would say Eshu, like, is very gender fluid, kind of like Loki. Let me even say I would use they pronouns for them. So like I said, they are the messenger god like Hermes, but they are also the trickster god like Loki, and they're also the god that wanders in between worlds, because they are the intermediaries between the land of the human and the land of the spirit, and as such, they are also the god that just smiles in the background and causes chaos, which I absolutely love. And Ishu makes an appearance in this, and it was just spectacular. Ayodele bringing Ishu in this, just the minute they showed up on page, I was like, oh my god, it's Ishu Laulu. It's just, oh god damn, beautiful, and the role they played in this story, spectacular. I also appreciate the fact that this story also does have mental health rep, because Tola in this does suffer from certain mental health illnesses, but they do not also define her story, but they are also important to her growth as a character, and there's no magical cure, you know, the way some books do. Like, I absolutely adored every moment of this. I gave Lakiriboto Chronicles 5 bloody brilliant, amazing, fantastic stars. Then I read Cemetery Boys by Aiden. I love this book. This book is magical and queer and beautiful and funny. I cackled. The amount of times I laughed while reading this book. Julian Diaz and Yadriel have such great chemistry and banter, and then you add Maritza to the mix, and it was just a perfect mix. This is a book that immediately I finished, I wanted to reread. It is that good. I sincerely hope that Ivan Thomas, that they come back to this world and they do explore, like, the stories with these characters again. Like, give us Maritza's story, please. Ivan, give us Maritza's story. Anyway, this book is perfect. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's funny. In this, you follow Yadriel, who is trying to convince his family that he's a brujo. They have not given him his ceremony because he is trans, and Yadriel, to prove that he's a brujo, because in his family, the brujos, you know, guide and summon spirits, and the brujas are the ones who heal people, and so he summons a ghost. Like, one of his cousin was violently murdered, and so he decides that, okay, if he's able to summon his cousin's spirit, everybody would have to take notice. Everybody would take notice of that, and he would get a ceremony, and he would be brought in as a brujo into the community. But when they try summoning the spirit, it's not his cousin's spirit that shows up. It's Julian Diaz, the bad boy from school. Julian, who was murdered, and Julian is like, oh my god, what the fuck, I'm dead? What the fuck, I am dead? Yo, Yadriel, it is up to you to solve my mother. And Yadriel is like, how could this happen to me? I made my mistakes. It was hilarity, it was perfection. I absolutely loved their banter, I loved their relationship, I loved how we saw it grow. I love how these two people who, yes, knew of each other from school but were not really close to each other, ended up having a friendship, and their love, like, was so believable. At the end, I was holding my breath, because I'm like, you cannot tell me this story about a ghost and there's a time on it, because ghosts have to return. If they don't, they turn malevolent, and, like, there's a time on it and everything else. You cannot tell me a story like that and and I'm not already thinking, oh my god, this is going to be a sad ending. So I had my heart in my throat. I'm not going to spoil it for you, just know that it is not a sad ending. This book also had something else that elevated the storytelling for me, other than all the things I've already mentioned, which is the presence of Lady Death. You all know Death is a character I love to see in books, encounter in shows, movies. Like, just give me every depiction of death that you can find, and I would be in awe and I would be in love. And Lady Death in this showing up was just
Delicious. Finally. Some good fucking food.
Second to the last book on my list is The Death of Vivek OG by Akwaeke Emezi. I love this book. Firstly, off the bat, of course, I gave it a 5-star. Akwaeke Emezi is one of my favorite writers. The way in which they are able to combine, you know, talking about being queer, like queerness with regards to Nigerian context, and also Igbo mysticism and culture woven into the story about identity and love and loss. and heartbreak and pain, and the way they're able to capture it, the way they reach for the right words, and they weave together a story that is alive, that is a living, breathing thing that crawls underneath your skin and settles and has you weeks, days, months after you finish the story. You sit down and you remember a line, a turn of phrase, a scene, and you stop cold and you sit and you reflect on that. That is the kind of writing, that is the kind of stories that Akwaeke Emezi tells. They did it with Freshwater. I have not yet read Pet, but I know that they probably did it with Pet as well. But they also did it with The Death of Vivek OG. This is a beautiful, brilliant book. Like I said, about life and about death, about pain and about loss, about gains, about forgiveness, and it's wrapped up together, like I said, in a story about what it means to be queer, what it means to be trans in Nigeria. And all this thing is told through Vivek's story. Vivek, whose mother is Indian and whose father is Nigerian, and who grew up among the Niger wives community, which are this group of women who marry Nigerian men but are from other countries. And these women have their own, they from their own community. They have children. Their children interact, and these children are Vivek's friends. Like, they are the people he grew up with, and they are also the ones that know he heard their stories, because Vivek is trans, and the way in which their story unfolds in this book was just brilliant and heartbreaking and just triumphant. It was triumphant. It was painful and triumphant, and that dichotomy, being able to exist perfectly well in this book, is the reason why I absolutely adore The Death of Vivek OG. And I think, as a queer Nigerian, right, and every single queer Nigerian that reads this book, this would resonate so much with us. I remember, because back in, was it 4 years ago, when Akwaeke was writing this book, and they tweeted about it, and they were like, they're writing a story, a love letter to queer Nigerians that they know that we would love, we would see and feel seen in, and we would love. And they were right. They were 100% right. The way in which I love this book, the way in which I adore this book, the way in which this book shattered me and put me together again. It was beautiful. Trigger warning, just in case you cannot tell, but it's in the title. Vivek dies. But this is a celebration, as much a celebration of their life, as is their death and how they died. And it's a beautiful, it's a small book, but it packs a punch. It is very impactful.
I love it.
And finally, the last book for this wrap up is Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. This novella is perfect. Every single time I read a novella that is a complete story, I am awed at the fact that there exists in this world, in this universe, we live in the same time as authors that can create perfect story with character, amazing, well-rounded characters, character development, a plot that wouldn't stop, and a story that feels fulfilling and complete in itself, all within 200 pages. Because Ring Shout exists, y'all. Ring Shout exists, and it's perfect. It's this dark alternate fantasy, supernatural fantasy that takes place in 1922 Georgia, during the Jim Crow era. This is a year after the Tulsa massacre, and we have our lead character, right, Maurice, who runs an illegal bootleg whiskey operation, right, in Prohibition, Georgia. But that is her side hustle. That is the front. The other thing that she actually does, like she tells us in the very opening line, she hunts monsters. And to be precise, she hunts Ku Kluxes. Because in this alternate universe, in this world, the birth of the nation, that vile piece of media that is hailed as being amazing, and I'm like, white America. Anyway, that piece of shit, Birth of a Nation, is a conjuring spell that is woven into a movie, and W. Griffith is a sorcerer, and the movie is a means to open a portal through which entities and creatures from another world come in and take possession of bodies. Usually the bodies are bodies of clan members who, fueled by hate being what attracts these beings, are perfect hosts for these people seeking hatred. And so Maurice hunts these creatures that she calls Ku Kluxes, different from the clan members, who are potential hosts but have not turned full on creatures yet, at least until they do. And she hunts them with Sadie, the sharpshooter, who has a very, very sharp mouth. Her mouth is as sharp as her sharpshooting skills, and her sharpshooting skills are spectacular. And Chef, who is this hellfighter who fought in the war, and because she wanted to fight in the war, pretended to be a man. So it was like, yeah, baby, do you want to say hi? Do you want to say hi to the camera, baby? Come up. Hi. Do you want to say hi? Why are you not saying hi? He's like, oh my god. There you go. Hey, baby. Do you want to look at the camera? So Chef, who works with explosives, and like I said, pretended to be a man to fight, and who is gay, because like that I was just like, Djeli Clark was just feeding me. Like, he fed me through this entire story. But anyway, the three of them hunt the Ku Kluxes, and what happens when it is that these Ku Kluxes are coming, there's something big on the horizon. They are going to reshow this movie and use that collective power to summon an ancient being that would be the end of their world. It is up to Maurice and her friends to fight back, to come together, gather the power they need to fight back. But for her to do so, she has to examine a trauma that she has buried deep within herself. This book is a commentary on race, on hate, on love and family and community, and also a celebration on African American mythology and culture. And Ring Shout captures all of that, I repeat, in 200 pages. It's 200 pages of perfection. It is horror. It is horrific. It gives you like Eldritch monster vibes, Lovecraftian entity being coming to take over the world. I can see so much connection and synergy with N.K. Jemisin's The City We Became, but it is its own story, and I would also highly recommend it for you to, if you do not have the book yet and you have not yet read it, get it on audio. The audio production is fantastic. It will give shivers. It will send shivers down your spine, and it's so creepy, deliciously creepy in the most amazing, brilliant, fantastic of ways. This book, this novella, I want to marry it. How is a novella so fucking perfect? I have found like my first favorite book of the year, y'all. And imagine my joy and my glee to hear that it's going to be adapted into a TV show. Yes, you heard that right. Skydance, I think it's Skydance Media. They bought the rights. They're going to be adapting it into a show. The showrunner is going to be the person that did Luke Cage, and you know it's going to be Blackity Black. A celebration of blackness, of African American amazingness, and I am ready. I want it released. It is so good. I gave Ring Shout 5 stars. This is my very first Djeli Clark novel, story. You can bet that Black Drums, The Haunting of Tranka, I am going to read every single thing that Djeli Clark writes, ever written, plans on writing, but that he has written so far. I intend to read them all this year. 2021 will not pass me by without me being all caught up, because this is brilliant.
Perfection.
But yeah, that is this wrap up. If if any of this book I mentioned interests you, drop it down in the comment. Be like, Noria, you're getting me, or you're going to get me to read this book, and I hate you, I love you, you know, I love you too. But just drop it down in the comments as well. What are some of the favorite books, your favorite books that you read between December and February? Let me know so that I can add them to my list and possibly check them out. Drop it in the comments as well. As always, if you did enjoy this video, do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Check out my other videos, subscribe if you want to, and if you do decide to subscribe, please do not forget to click on that notification bell. So after you hit subscribe, click on the bell so you can have all notifications turned on so you don't miss any of my new videos. I do make new videos every Wednesdays and Sundays, and I'll see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.